This evening, first, jet ski tragedy at Splashmins. A family outing ends in heartbreak after a jet ski collision claimed the life of a 58-year-old man and injures his daughter. What went wrong on the water? We have the details. Plus, Arson confirmed at Doubleday Hotel. Investigators said the fire that destroyed the hotel where 11-year-old Adriana Younge's body was found was deliberately set. Could crucial evidence in the high-profile case have gone up in flames? Also, President promises bigger gains for workers. From tax relief to housing loans, President Ali lays out new plans to boost workers' welfare during a Labor Day address. What is in store for Guyana's workforce? Meanwhile, disaster-ready Guyana. As the national economy surges, so do the risks. Prime Minister Mark Phillips says the country is stepping up its disaster response. MECODEX 2025 is underway, and we take you inside the drills. Finally, Putin, peace, and a phone call. President Donald Trump says his latest call with Vladimir Putin could pave the way for peace in Ukraine. Could negotiations be back on the table? Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for May 20th, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, a family outing ended in heartbreak on Sunday after a jet ski accident at Splashmins Resort claimed the life of 58-year-old Joseph Mahadio and left his daughter nursing injuries. The East Coast MRR family had taken their own jet skis to the popular resort for what was meant to be a day of leisure. However, tragedy struck when two of the jet skis, one operated by Mahadio and the other by his daughter and a friend, collided while they were riding on the resort's waterway. According to police, the impact of the crash threw Mahadio into the water where he reportedly struck his head. Family members immediately rushed to his aid, pulling him from the water and rushing him to the Diamond Hospital. Sadly, he was pronounced dead on arrival. Visible injuries were noted on Mahadio's head and face, and a post-mortem examination is expected to determine the exact cause of his death. His daughter, who was on the other jet ski, sustained a wound and is receiving medical attention. The Ghana Police Force has launched an investigation into the incident as the family grapples with the sudden loss. Moving on, the Doubleday Hotel fire has been ruled arson, raising fears that key evidence in Adriana Younge's death was destroyed. Dominic Gittins has more on the investigations and growing demands for justice.
Deputy Chief Fire Officer Dwayne Scotland has confirmed that the April 24th blaze, which gutted the Doubleday Hotel at Tushin, East Bank Essequibo, was intentionally set in multiple areas of the building. Investigators could not pinpoint a single origin but found clear signs of arson, although no suspect has yet been identified. The fire followed public outrage over the death of 11-year-old Adriana Younge, whose body was discovered in the hotel's swimming pool nearly a day after she went missing during a family outing. The pool had reportedly been searched earlier, causing suspicion and prompting protests that escalated into vandalism. Subsequently, the hotel was set on fire. Authorities have raised concern that the fire may have destroyed critical evidence in Adriana's case. Preliminary autopsy findings confirmed that she died by drowning, but no signs of sexual assault or trauma. Samples are currently undergoing further toxicology and histological analysis in the United States. Additionally, a retired Canadian homicide expert, Leonard Mukoshin, has been hired to assist with the investigations. Despite efforts by the police, including the review of video footage from the day of Adriana's disappearance, many questions remain unanswered. With the hotel's destruction, Adriana's family continued to demand a transparent and thorough investigation, including calls for a broader international involvement and possibly a second autopsy. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has reaffirmed his government's commitment to advancing Guyanese workers' rights, welfare, and economic empowerment. Speaking at a Labor Day brunch hosted at State House in Georgetown on Sunday, President Ali highlighted a series of initiatives to improve workers' living standards across the country. Praising workers for their vital contribution to national development, the President assured continued support backed by proven actions.
We honor your hard work. We celebrate your hard work, and we will do so not only by words, we will do so by action, as we have proven in the last 4 years.
The President reminded the gathering that labor is responsible for holding leaders accountable.
You, the backbone of our country, the labor, you have that great responsibility of holding us all accountable, holding every single leader accountable. And let me make this point. Labor sacrifice a lot. And labor deserves a lot.
President Ali said that since taking office in 2020, the government has implemented a 46.2% increase in public sector wages and restored a 1-month bonus for members of the disciplined services. Additional tax reforms include reducing income taxes rate and doubling the tax threshold. Other measures include tax relief on life and medical insurance and making overtime and second job earnings of up to $50,000 per month non-taxable. Adjustments to salaries for teachers, healthcare professionals, and joint services were also implemented. In promising even more far-reaching reforms, the President unveiled a move to expand access to affordable housing.
I instructed the Minister of Finance to write to the New Building Society and to increase their loan limit to $30 million with a guarantee that their interest rate on loans, 30 million and below for housing, will be 5% maximum.
President Ali also announced plans for expanding housing loans, a special agency to provide concessional loans for SMEs and families, and over 100 collective labor agreements signed, marking a record in industrial relations. The government continues to invest in infrastructure, community safety, and public services to enhance the quality of life nationwide. Stick around when we return. NTC rolls out big plans to help Indigenous communities grow, and a speedboat operator arrested for allegedly beating wife. Mother seeks help online.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. It is the civic duty and legal responsibility of all Guyanese who meet the eligibility criteria to apply for registration. By doing so, you would be ensuring that you are issued a national identification card and be included in the official list of electors for future elections, providing you meet all eligibility criteria. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 2250-277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Our smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl, forget things.
Who's the
problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The National Tush House Council has announced major projects aimed at improving the lives of Indigenous people in Guyana. These plans were shared on Monday at the opening of the annual National Tush House Conference. The NTC Secretary, Shane Cornelius, said the Council has been working hard to make sure Indigenous villages are more involved in planning for their future. One of the main projects is the Village Planning Project, which helps communities create long-term development plans. So far, 85 village plans have been completed and more are in progress. Over 875 Indigenous people have already been trained to help with this process. The NTC also introduced free, prior, and informed consent guidelines. These are meant to ensure that no major projects takes place in Indigenous communities without their full agreement. The goal is to protect Indigenous rights and ensure their voices are heard. To support these efforts, the government has invested more than $200 million in the NTC's work, including funds to build and furnish a new permanent headquarters for the Council. More training, new technology, and support for small community projects are on the way as the NTC continues to push for growth and self-sufficiency among the country's First Peoples. Another disturbing case of domestic violence has surfaced, this time involving a mother of 3 from Leguan. Dominic Gittins has more on the arrest and the public outcry that followed.
Domestic violence remains a troubling issue in Guyana, with yet another woman, a mother of 3, reportedly falling victim to abuse. On Tuesday morning, police arrested Orwin Rankin, a speedboat operator from Leguan, after he allegedly assaulted his wife, Selena. According to a statement from police headquarters, Rankin was taken into custody and is assisting with ongoing investigations. The incident gained public attention after Sharmila Dhanraj, the victim's mother, who resides overseas, shared a photo on Facebook of her daughter with a bloodied face. In her emotional plea, she appealed for help, saying she was unable to be there physically to support her daughter. Following the online appeal, police ranks in Region 3 quickly intervened and acted on the report. Investigations are continuing. If you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic abuse, call the Ministry of Human Services 914 hotline now for help. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. Prime Minister Mark Phillips has assured that Guyana is serious about preparing for disasters and is committed to working with the region to respond to emergencies more effectively. Speaking at the opening of the MECODEX 2025, an international disaster preparedness exercise at the Pegasus Hotel, Prime Minister Phillips said the country's fast-growing oil and gas industry means it must be ready for new kinds of risks, not just natural disasters, but also industrial accidents and climate-related events. He said disaster planning is now a key part of the government's development goals. As our economy grows, so do the risks. We have to be ready, he told the gathering, which included regional defense, disaster response, and humanitarian agencies. The Prime Minister lauded MECODEX 2025 as a great example of teamwork, where countries in the region come together to share knowledge, train together, and improve their emergency response systems. He said, hosting the event shows Guyana is a trusted partner when it comes to regional safety and disaster response, and added that these exercises help build long-term capacity, not just for Guyana, but for the entire region. MECODEX 2025 runs until Thursday and includes simulation drills and workshops focused on emergency coordination, logistics, and recovery after disasters. Don't go away after the break. U.S. top court allows Trump admin to revoke protected status for Venezuelans. And heavy flooding in Argentina exposes gaps in climate policy and local readiness.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Habit Smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Anyone eligible for registration is required to visit the GCOM registration office responsible for his or her area of residence to apply for registration. Persons who are already registered could apply for a name change if they have changed their names since they were registered. Apply for corrections if there is incorrect information on their national ID card. Persons who are desirous of conducting any of those transactions must provide the relevant supporting documents. Persons who have already registered must collect their new ID cards if they have not yet done so. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Gunmen opened fire early Monday morning at a Catholic church festivity in Guanajuato, killing 7 youths. Authorities suspect the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel is behind the attack, with threatening messages found nearby. The assault, condemned by Mexico's Episcopal Conference, marks a rare targeting of a church event amid escalating cartel violence in the state, which leads the nation in homicides. No arrests have been made. Meanwhile, in South America, people in Argentina have started to return to their homes after days of heavy rain caused widespread flooding. Towns north of the capital were swamped when a storm dropped nearly 5 times the average amount of rainfall in May. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bow reports.
This is what the northern part of Buenos Aires looked like over the weekend, as torrential rain caused massive flooding around the area. Felicia Correa's house in the city of Campana was inundated with water, and she was forced to escape in a canoe. This is the first time she's returned home.
I'm very sad because I see all my things floating in the water. Our TV, refrigerator. We will have to start again, but it's going to be hard.
Almost 10,000 people were evacuated across the province after nearly 300 millimeters of rain fell over 10 municipalities. The poorest areas were among the most affected.
This is the second time this year that entire areas of the province of Buenos Aires have been affected with torrential rains and flooding. Most experts say that the main reason of this is climate change. The problem is that authorities here are not ready to cope with changing weather patterns and the impact this has on the population.
Raúl Salvo is retired, and his house was also submerged by the floods. He says the local and provincial governments failed people in the area.
I have never seen this. Never. This is incredible. The embankment was not well done. The pumps were not working. People stole the cables. It's a shame. I have lost it all.
The floods happened as Argentina's President Javier Milei pushes for a rollback on environmental regulations, and just like US President Donald Trump, continues to express skepticism about climate change.
The Environment Ministry was shut down by the government. The Secretariat of Climate Change remains, but it's very, very small, and those who are there have started to leave. The state's capacity is very small to carry out the necessary climate commitments related to the Paris agreements.
Some assistance has started to arrive in the city of Campana, but it will take a long time for people here to recover from what they have lost. And while the national government continues to avoid the reality of climate change, people here say they are the ones on the front line and are demanding those in power do much more to protect them. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
The U.S. Supreme Court has sided with the Trump administration in its effort to deport immigrants. An order issued on Monday puts hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans at risk of removal from the United States. Al Jazeera's Wilson Desar reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump promised to deport millions of people during his 2024 election campaign.
We're going to end up with the largest deportation in American history. We have no choice. Have no choice, right? Have no choice.
Now, 8 of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court have approved one way for him to do it, ending protections granted by the Biden administration for 350,000 Venezuelans.
From what we can tell, this is the single largest action in modern American history stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status.
Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, allows people from countries enduring economic upheaval or violence to stay and work in the U.S. Trump says those immigrants have brought that violence with them to the U.S., pointing to foreigners convicted of murder. But revoking TPS makes no distinction between the innocent and the guilty.
Miami-Dade County is proud to be home to the largest community of Venezuelans in the United States. We must secure our borders and streamline our immigration process, but this decision puts hundreds of thousands of our Venezuelan families at risk and punishes those who followed a legal process.
Although the case will go through appeals, the Supreme Court's decision means Venezuelans are more likely to be forced to leave the U.S.
Now, practically at that point, the large majority of Venezuelans are probably going to apply for political asylum. And so then that will lead them to be hundreds of thousands of cases added to an over 2 million docket that's pending already. But as a matter of course, this definitely makes their status far more precarious than it was previously.
Even if the Trump administration loses future cases before the Supreme Court, it has succeeded in sending a signal to American voters and the world's most vulnerable people. Wilson Dysart, Al Jazeera.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he thinks his call with Russian leader Vladimir Putin about ending the war in Ukraine went very well. Trump says Moscow and Kyiv will immediately start negotiations towards a ceasefire. Al Jazeera's Shahib Ratamsi reports.
Donald Trump expressed optimism following his morning of diplomatic outreach on the war in Ukraine. He says immediate, direct peace talks will begin between Russia and Ukraine. The Vatican may act as mediator.
We just spent 2.5 hours talking to Vladimir Putin, and I think some progress has been made. It's a terrible situation going on over there. We also spoke to the heads of most of the European nations, and we're trying to get that whole thing wrapped up.
For his part, Vladimir Putin also praised the momentum toward peace.
We agreed with the U.S. President that Russia will suggest and is ready to work with the Ukrainian side on a memorandum on a possible future peace treaty, which defines a number of issues, such as the principles of settlement, the terms of a possible peace agreement, and so on, including a possible ceasefire for a certain period of time.
The Ukrainian leader, though, whom Trump also spoke to, expressed his skepticism.
I'm not sure that Russia is ready, and we don't trust them, and that's why we wanted from them very much ceasefire at the first step.
European leaders said they were united with Donald Trump, even though Trump is not calling for an immediate unconditional ceasefire as they had requested, but talks toward a ceasefire. We will closely support Ukraine on its path toward a ceasefire, the German Chancellor wrote. Europe will increase pressure on Moscow through sanctions. We agreed this with the President of the United States after his conversation with Putin. Ahead of his phone calls, the White House press secretary said Donald Trump was weary and frustrated with both sides in the conflict. And J.D. Vance, the vice president, said the U.S. was prepared to walk away if peace seemed unlikely. It remains to be seen just how engaged the U.S. will remain now in these direct talks between Ukraine and Russia toward a ceasefire. Shia Bertansi, Al Jazeera, the White House.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Tuesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.